Hello, friend of karmic affinity. I invite you to look back at the long day that has passed with me to identify the deepest layer of fatigue that we often unintentionally carry to bed, which is the exhaustion of trying to control everything in our lives. Over the past dozen hours, you have strained to control your work schedule perfectly. You controlled every word to avoid offending others, and you strove to control every inner emotion to maintain the most stable appearance in the eyes of the world. Our silent tragedy is that your body has laid down on the soft mattress, but the inner control is still awake and buzzing. You close your eyes, but have not yet truly allowed yourself to rest, because the mind is still at the wheel to watch over the worries of tomorrow. You need to understand a sacred wisdom that your body has laid down, but the control is still awake. Deep sleep will never find you, as long as you still feel there is work to manage. And the deepest healing absolutely cannot happen when there is still someone trying to steer the flow of life. Right now, I invite you to pause for a beat and ask your heart, what if tonight there truly is nothing else that needs you to control anymore? Control is a reflex, not a mistake. Hello, friend of karmic affinity. I want you to understand a truth that the habit of wanting to control everything is actually just a natural survival reflex of humans, and is absolutely not your own fault or failure. This control once helped you survive and fulfill great responsibilities toward family and society. It helped you avoid mistakes and kept your life on the right track amidst the clutter and bustle of the day. However, that reflex does not know how to turn itself off when night falls. That very need to master reality is silently keeping your nervous system in a state of alertness and keeping the body in a state of strict defense. You need to recognize that control may be a very useful tool during the day for you to create life. But when darkness falls, that very control becomes a toxic noise, preventing you from touching absolute stillness. Gently remember a truth to begin letting go. Control is useful during the day, but when night falls, it truly is just noise. The night is the territory of non-control. Hello, friend of karmic affinity. In the wisdom of ancient traditions from thousands of years, the night is absolutely not the time for managing or directing life. But the night is a sacred territory for us to completely entrust ourselves to the great flow of nature. Buddhist wisdom in this moment does not teach you a way to let go through a new effort, because effort is also another form of control. Instead, you only need to gently remind your consciousness of an extremely simple truth, to return to the most original stillness that when nothing is controlled, everything will automatically find its balance point and self-adjust in the most perfect way. The moment control reveals itself. Hello, friend of karmic affinity. Identify with me an extremely subtle threshold at this very moment, which is the moment control silently reveals itself just as you are about to enter deep sleep. Notice if you are checking the clock and silently calculating how much time is left to rest, or if you are commanding yourself that tonight you must definitely sleep early to be alert tomorrow, or if you are constantly restless, adjusting your posture and trying to mold your breath according to some perfect pattern. Right at the moment, you unintentionally turn rest into a task to be performed excellently. Stillness has already begun to retreat from your soul. I invite you not to effort to drive away or try to stop those thoughts, but simply recognize their presence with the most tolerant smile. Silently tell your heart in the softest and most honest way that, it turns out, control is still lingering here. You do not need to change or fix anything at all, because the mere act of recognizing control is the moment you have begun to loosen it naturally. Listening to the body. Now I invite you to return your awareness to the body, lying here on the mattress, to understand that control does not only exist in the form of abstract thoughts, but is actually residing in every muscle and blood vessel. Slowly notice if your forehead is slightly furrowed or the area between your eyebrows is tensing due to some unconscious focus. Feel your shoulders, whether they are slightly raised and stiff as if still carrying heavy burdens of the day not yet put down. Listen deeper into your abdominal area. Is there a silent tightening happening there, as a natural reflex of constant vigilance toward the surrounding world, especially your breath? Identify if the breath is being silently coordinated and monitored by you to become slower or deeper according to your subjective will. In this sacred moment, I absolutely do not ask you to fix anything and do not force you to try to relax immediately. This is not a skill training exercise or a new task, but merely a compassionate acknowledgement of yourself. Gently tell your consciousness that your body right now is truly still trying its best to manage the night, and this very gentle seeing and non-judgmental acknowledgement will automatically release the underlying tensions rooted deep in your nervous system. Tonight, I do not need to manage. Hello, friend of karmic affinity. Now we perform a very powerful, yet extremely soft inner gesture. I invite you to officially allow the inner manager to take their shift off after a long day of working diligently. Without needing to speak aloud, you just need to silently tell each cell and each fold of thought a trusting confirmation that in the coming hours, there is absolutely nothing left for me to manage or control or arrange further. Perhaps right now you cannot yet absolutely trust in that. But dear friend, please be assured, because our great body does not respond to strict compulsions or commands of the will. The body only truly recovers and begins the sacred cell regeneration process when it receives a generous permission and the gentlest trust from the depths of your soul. You are actively stepping back to empower the intelligence of life operating within you. Like a captain who has taken the ship through storms, and now as the safe harbor of the night appears before your eyes, you gently leave the helm so the water itself can support and guide the ship. Just an intention to leave the control panel is already a huge liberation for your nervous system. Let this whisper soak into your subconscious. True rest only begins at the exact moment when control accepts stepping aside. Absolute stillness. Now I invite you to truly be in your own complete stillness. In the next few minutes, I will stop giving all instructions, and you absolutely do not need to effort to perform any more actions. This is not a mandatory meditation practice, and you do not need to try to capture attention on any object or sensation present in your body and mind. Just let everything be natural as it is in a most empty and quiet space. If a stream of thought or a fragment of memory from today suddenly appears, just gently let it drift away, like ripples on a lake, without needing to worry or answer. You do not need to drive them away, and absolutely do not find ways to follow, analyze, or solve them right now. If sleepiness is slowly coming and wants to cover you, then just let it naturally lead you into dreams without any resistance or effort. Even when you still find yourself awake in the dark, please be assured that it is also completely good for your recovery. This is the moment you return all authority to the great intelligence of life, where there is no longer a doer and no longer work to do. Let this affirmation soak into every corner of your soul. The sacred night truly never needs any management from you. The subtle mental trap. In the quiet darkness, I want to gently point out to you an extremely subtle trap of the mind that even longtime practitioners often unintentionally fall into, which is the effort to let go of control quickly to soon get the desired result. There are many people lying here and silently using strength to try to let go, try to relax the entire body, or try to force themselves not to think anymore. But dear friend, do you realize that when you are still efforting not to think, then that very act of trying proves that the daytime manager is still on duty very strongly? You are just putting on a new mask called the person trying to find stillness. Every effort to do nothing is actually still an action of the tired ego, and control only truly leaves at the exact moment when there is no longer anyone standing out to direct it. As long as you still consider rest a goal to chase, then it still eludes you like a distant illusion. Engrave a deep wisdom into your heart. You absolutely cannot control yourself to enter a state of true rest, because the nature of rest is the complete absence of the coordinating will. Tonight you do not need to perform an excellent act of letting go. Just simply let everything naturally drop away, like a fading petal falling onto the soft ground, where there is no longer a doer and no longer work to do. Only the empty presence melting into this vast night remains. Redefining deep sleep. Hello, friend of karmic affinity. Join me in redefining the true nature of a deep sleep, right in your own consciousness. Deep sleep inherently is not a state that you can effort to reach with your will or with your awake consciousness. The moment you truly sink into the gentle darkness is when a driver inside you has completely left their duty post to make room for the absolute stillness of the night. If you are still lying there to silently monitor whether you are drowsy yet, then that very persistent observing self is the biggest barrier preventing you from touching the complete recovery of the universe. Understand deeply a gentle truth that deep sleep is a space where you can no longer stand out to be a witness to your own presence. Tonight I invite you to courageously allow your ego to be completely absent and stop all strict coordination activities for the body and mind. You can sink into sleep immediately, or you can still lie here in empty stillness until late at night. And please understand completely that it truly no longer matters for your self-healing process. The sacred value of tonight does not lie in how many hours you sleep, but in whether you have enough courage to return all priority to the natural intelligence of the body. In the wisdom of non-action, deep sleep can only be present when no one else stands out to wait for or monitor it anymore. Let your breath flow by itself, and let your heart beat by itself without the tired supervision of the will. When the driver has truly left the driver's seat and the door of control has closed completely, then that is when pure life begins to perform its most miraculous regeneration work. When the balance automatically returns. Tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes to welcome the first rays of sunlight, I invite you to perform a final gesture of compassion for yourself. Absolutely do not hurry to grade your sleep or try to analyze what percentage you truly rested last night. The inherent and deep-rooted habit of our mind is often to immediately call the manager back to measure whether the sleep was deep enough. If the body feels a bit heavy, we often hurry to set a new plan to adjust for the next night to be more perfect. That very act of evaluating unintentionally activates the cycle of control from early morning, making your nervous system fall into a state of high alert once again. True healing and balance often take place in a very profound and quiet dimension, where narrow consciousness sometimes cannot fully identify through initial crude sensations. Instead of being busy looking for obvious results immediately in sleep, start to focus on recognizing the miraculous transformation through extremely subtle changes occurring throughout your long day. You will start to notice yourself facing work pressures with an unusually soft and tolerant mindset. Anger or anxiety no longer explodes strongly as before, but instead is a pause of wisdom and serenity. That is also when you realize your daytime breath suddenly becomes much broader and freer, because the chest is no longer gripped by the knots of responsibility. And especially you feel your body significantly lighter, because long-standing persistent underlying tensions have lessened. When control rests completely at night, then balance will automatically return during the day in the most natural and miraculous way. When control stops, body wisdom begins. Hello, friend of karmic affinity. We look back at one final wisdom of tonight's silent journey, which is that your great body always possesses an ability to self-adjust and find its way back to balance smarter than any control of the rational head. Understand deeply that your body always knows how to heal wounds and soothe chaos at the right time when it is completely not strictly managed and not urged by expectations or perfect standards of the tired daytime ego. Night actually is the sacred territory of nature, where all individual will and all ambitions of coordination should be temporarily set aside, completely to make room for the great flow of the universe, silently operating in every blood vessel and every breath of yours. The intelligence of each cell and each blood vessel always knows how to create harmony and recovery much better than any dry arrangement or calculation of the anxious mind. Absolute trust in the natural process is the most precious healing medicine that you can give to your own soul, right in the moment. Darkness is covering all things. When you courageously let go and stop monitoring every beat or every emotion of life, then that is when that life begins to be revived most brilliantly and completely. You truly do not need to teach your body how to find the balanced state, because that miraculous ability already lies deep in the root instinct and genetic code of life from millions of years ago. My dear friend, we have gone together to the final moments of tonight's stillness, before you truly vanish into the gentle darkness of deep sleep. I only hope you carry a single awareness in your heart that when night falls, there truly is nothing else you need to control anymore. If these shared words bring you a sense of being allowed to let go of the burden, I invite you to join me in a final confirmation gesture to completely close the door of the daytime. You leave a comment as a sacred commitment to your own consciousness that, tonight, I take my hands off all control. This confirmation will be the steady anchor helping you truly shed the final manager to enter the most complete rest in the tolerant arms of the night. If the silent space of Daily Dharma Light brings you peace and tranquility, I am very honored to welcome you to stay with the channel. Now you have nothing more to hear and nothing more to do. Let stillness cover the entire body and mind. Wishing you a very peaceful night in the absolute freedom of the soul. Peace in mind and body. Hello, and see you again.